think there's a very good chance that Usyk might have AJ's number. So what I mean by that is, if they were to fight again in the rematch, if the rematch was to happen, Usyk, there's a very good chance that I think Usyk beats him, because I just think he's got his number. Just stylistically, it just looks like AJ's style is just perfectly made for Usyk to exploit. And that's not a gripe on AJ. I previously made a video saying that I think AJ is one of the best things that's ever happened to the heavyweight division, in terms of the money that he generates, in terms of the interest, the fan interest, in terms of just generally everything that he's done for the sport. I think he's almost like a godsend for the heavyweight division, because a lot of these fighters are now making a life-changing amount of money because of AJ, because of the interest that he garners and all of that. But the fact is, I do actually think that Usyk might have his number, and it's ironic because there's another cruiserweight that went up to heavyweight that had the number of another marketable heavyweight champion, and that's Holyfield with Mike Tyson. I think it's fair to say that I think Holyfield had Mike Tyson's number, in terms of his style was just perfectly made for him to exploit Mike Tyson's style, when Mike Tyson, for whatever reason, in the first and second fight could not get it going against Holyfield. And I think it's the same thing with Anthony Joshua. There's a lot of parallels here between Usyk and Holyfield, in a sense. Both of them might have the numbers of the fighters that they're fighting now, but at this point in time, we're never going to find out who is the actual who's that. We're never going to find out if Mike Tyson could have ever overcome Holyfield if they would have fought in their first fight. If Mike Tyson never lost to Buster Douglas and never went to prison, who knows what would have happened in that fight. But in this position, both of them are in a similar position. I mean, for all intensive purposes, Anthony Joshua is in his prime now. Like, physically, I think he's in his prime. And I think Usyk is as well, to some extent. Obviously, he's a couple years older than him, but neither one of them have had that many hard fights. So they're both in a position where they're near their prime. And I think Usyk clearly beat Anthony Joshua. With Holyfield, is a little bit different. If he would have fought the Mike Tyson before the Buster Douglas fight, let's say the one that fought Michael Spinks, I think that version of Mike Tyson might have beaten Holyfield. But then afterwards, I think Holyfield would have always had Mike Tyson's number. So it's just interesting to see the parallel between the two, because they're both very similar. Both of them were undisputed at cruiserweight, and then they went up to heavyweight. Now they've managed to pick up most of the belts at heavyweight. Obviously, Holyfield became undisputed at heavyweight as well, which is incredible. So from that perspective, both fighters are very similar to each other. And they might have the number of their fighter that they just beat now. Obviously, Usyk might have the number of AJ. He might always beat AJ just because of his stylistic superiority that he has over him. And I think Holyfield might have always beaten Mike Tyson because just he always had his number. It doesn't matter if they would have fought each other 20 times. I think Holyfield would have won most of the time. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Tell me your opinion. Do you think Holyfield had Mike Tyson's number? And do you think Usyk has AJ's number? Do you think no matter how many times they fight, Usyk would always find a way to beat him? I think there's a very strong possibility that is the case, but we never know until they fight again. So if the rematch happens between Usyk and AJ, we'll finally see if Usyk has his number. But I slightly suspect that he does have his number, and he does find a way to always beat him, regardless of how many times they fight. So from that perspective, I think it's clear to see that history always repeats itself. You had a cruiserweight that unified and was undisputed at cruiserweight go up to heavyweight and beat one of the best, most marketable heavyweight champions of all time in Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. And now you've got the repeat of the same happening in this present era with Usyk going up to heavyweight and beating obviously Anthony Joshua. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Tell me your opinion. Do you think Usyk has Anthony Joshua's number, and do you think Holyfield had Mike Tyson's number? Who do you think? Do you think either of them have each other's numbers in any type of way? Do you think no matter how many times Holyfield would have fought Mike Tyson, he would have always beaten him? And do you think no matter how many times Usyk fights Anthony Joshua, he would always beat Anthony Joshua. Do you think I'm just talking nonsense and you think Anthony Joshua can beat him in a rematch? Tell me what you think below, and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace out.